Hello friends, I welcome you to the next lecture on Ind AS 20. We are going to have the last lecture now. Ind AS 20, IAS 20 government grants. In this lecture we are going to deal with repayment of government grant. If the government grant which you have received becomes repayable, so how do you deal with that repayment of the government grant we are going to discuss in this particular lecture. Comparison with IAS 20, so what are the major differences between Ind AS 20 and IAS 20. Appendix A, which corresponds to the 10th interpretation issued by Standing Interpretations Committee of the International Accounting Standards Committee. Okay, so we are going to deal with SIC 10 Appendix A. SIC 10 corresponds to Appendix A. Okay, so this appendix corresponds to government assistance where there is no relation to any operating activity. Okay, so we are going to deal with them in this particular lecture. Let's start. Repayment accounting. Suppose a government grant has become repayable. How do you deal with the accounting is the question. See, if the grant related to some revenue expenditure earlier. See, how do we deal with government grant relating to revenue expenditure or government grant relating to income items? That is what we call it as. Example, let us say the government has given you a grant and you are expected to do some environmental protection. Let us suppose you have received a grant and you are expected to incur some costs for environmental protection or to do some forestry activity. Okay. So you have to estimate over, let us say the grant period is 5 years. Over 5 years you have received a lump sum grant and you have to spend it over a period of 5 years. Not only the grant amount, you have to spend something out of your pocket also. So you have to estimate what is the expenditure you are going to incur under this environmental protection scheme or the forestry scheme. In that proportion, this grant income has to be recognized in P&L account. Suppose after first year you have failed to fulfill the condition and the grant becomes refundable. So in such cases, what the standard says is, you have to debit the deferred income account to the extent it is available. Remaining amount should be debited to P&L and you have to give credit to cash account. See, when we receive grant, we pass an entry cash or bank account or to grant, deferred income. When it is released to P&L account, we pass the entry government grant account or to P&L. Okay. If the grant becomes refundable, to the extent available, if there is any credit balance available in the deferred income account, to that extent you debit to that account, remaining amount will be debited to P&L account and then you credit cash. Okay, so that is how you have to account for a grant which was related to a revenue expenditure which has now become refundable. Okay, so if you have received any grant for revenue expenditure which is debited to P&L account, or we call it as government grant relating to income, you set it up as a deferred income and you release it to P&L account slowly in proportion of expenditure debited to P&L account. So in such cases, what the standard says is that if such grants become refundable, to the extent available, debit the deferred income account, remaining amount debit to P&L account and you can credit cash. So this is how you deal with it. Suppose the grant was related to acquisition of a depreciable asset. So when you receive a government grant and the grant is received for acquisition of a depreciable asset. So we have discussed this in earlier lectures as well. Sometimes the government can give you a grant and this grant has to be used only for acquisition of a specific type of an asset and it has to be used in a specific region only. Okay. So in such cases, the accounting which was prescribed under Ind AS 20 was, you have to set up that grant as deferred income and release it to P&L account in the proportion of depreciation being charged on that asset. Okay. Now let us say the grant has become refundable due to failure in fulfilling the conditions of the grant. Even though you have purchased the asset, but there is a specific use for which you can use the asset. That means you cannot use the asset for whatever purposes you want. Okay. Suppose you have failed to satisfy those conditions, then the standard requires, then the grant may become refundable. If the grant becomes refundable, you have to give the entire grant back or whatever amount is refunded to the extent available, debit it to the deferred income. If it is not sufficient, then you debit it to P&L account. So this is the requirement for refund of grants which were received for acquisition of depreciable asset. So when you refund the amount refunded, the cash will be credited. Debit should be given to the existing deferred income credit balance, and if the credit balance is not sufficient, then you have to debit the profit and loss account. So this is the accounting which is prescribed for repayment of government grants as per the standard. Okay. Now let us see the next topic in this lecture, comparison with IAS 20. So we want to learn what are the major differences between Ind AS 20 and IAS 20. The major differences are, the first difference is when you receive non-monetary assets, let us say land or plant and equipment from the government as a grant. In such cases, International Accounting Standard 20 gives you two options. One, you can recognize the assets at nominal value, or you can measure the assets at fair value and corresponding amount will be credited to grant income, deferred grant income, and released to P&L account. So you have two alternatives possible. One, recognize the asset at nominal value. You have received land as government grant for free, let us say. So International Accounting Standard 20 says you can show land at nominal value. That means 1 rupee you can show in your books of account. Or you have to measure the land at fair value, credit the amount to deferred income and release it to P&L account. So these two options were available under International Accounting Standard 20. But the option to account for such resources which have been received from the government at nominal value has been removed from Ind AS 20. That means under Ind AS 20 there is only one option available, that is you have to measure the asset at its fair value, credit the corresponding amount to grant income and then recognize it to P&L account over the period in which the conditions have to be satisfied. Is it clear? So we can only measure them at fair value, credit it to grant income and then recognize it to P&L account. We cannot measure it at nominal value. So this option is not available. Option is available under International Accounting Standard 20, not available under Ind AS 20. The second big difference which is there is when you receive a grant for acquisition of a specific depreciable asset. Under International Accounting Standard 20, there are two options available. One, the grant which is received either can be shown as deferred income and amortized, released to P&L account in the proportion of depreciation charged, or second option is you can straight away reduce the grant from the carrying amount of the asset. So the grant which is received can be reduced from the cost of the asset, the carrying amount of the asset, and the asset will be recognized in our books of accounts at a reduced amount. Okay, first option. Second option is set up that government grant as deferred income and release it to P&L account in proportion of depreciation charged. So these two options were available under International Accounting Standard 20, but the option to reduce the grant from the carrying amount of the asset has been removed in Ind AS 20. So in Ind AS 20 we have only one approach, that is treating it as deferred income and releasing it to P&L account in the proportion of depreciation charge. It is not possible to reduce the grant from the carrying amount of the asset. Is it clear? So these are the two major differences. The third difference is difference in terminology. In Ind AS 20 we use the term balance sheet in place of statement of financial position. We use the term statement of profit and loss in place of statement of comprehensive income. So these are the differences in terminologies. So this was the second issue we had to discuss in this lecture. And then the third issue, Appendix A. And then interpretation number 10 issued by Standards Interpretation Committee. Okay, so this is the interpretation issued by the International Accounting Standards Board. And this is an appendix which is attached, Appendix A attached to Ind AS 20. So what does it talk about? Assistance, government assistance, but there is no specific relation to operating activities. That means the government is giving some assistance in the form of transfer of resources, but there are no conditions attached to operating activities of the entity which is receiving the grant. In such cases, how do you deal with it? See, the major issue here is when you see the definition of government grant in Ind AS 20, it says it is a transfer of resource by the government to the entity for past compliance of certain conditions or future compliance of certain conditions, and those conditions relate to operating activities. So this is the definition of government grant which is given under Ind AS 20 and International Accounting Standard 20. But in this particular issue, sometimes there can be situations where the government can give some assistance in the form of transfer of resources to entities, and there are no conditions attached to operating activities. Okay, in such cases there can be situation that this government assistance is not covered by the definition of the term government grant as per Ind AS 20, International Accounting Standard 20, and an alternative accounting policy could have been adopted. The alternative accounting policy is, see, because there are no conditions attached to operating activities, some people can argue, or some people really argued that these kind of assistance, these kind of government grants, where there is no condition attached or related to operating activity, they should be credited directly to shareholders' equity. That means they should be credited to equity straight away, instead of setting it up as deferred income and releasing it to P&L account. So to remove this confusion, the Standard Interpretations Committee and Appendix A clearly provide that even though there are no conditions attached to operating activity, such grants which are received by the entity but there are no conditions related to operating activity, you have to still treat it as deferred income and amortize it to P&L account, even though it may not satisfy a part of the definition of a government grant. But still, even these government grants, sometimes they are not so unconditional, there may be some conditions. Generally what governments will do is to encourage entities or to support entities to do business in a particular industry, or to promote industries, to promote entities to start and continue business in undeveloped areas, or to support industries to support entities to do business in recently privatized industries. In certain situations, government may give such assistance. So this government assistance is not purely unconditional. There are still some conditions. The conditions are to continue to operate in an industry, or to continue to operate in an industry which is recently privatized, or to start or continue operations in a region which is underdeveloped. These assistance may be provided, and this money has to be used to satisfy those conditions, definitely. So even though there are no specific conditions relating to your operating activities, but there are some general conditions still attached. So what the Standard Interpretation Committee 10, interpretation 10 says, and appendix A is that you have to continue to treat it as deferred income. That means you have to credit it to deferred income and release it to P&L account, amortize it to P&L account in the proportion of expenditure being debited to P&L account. Is it clear? You cannot straight away credit such government assistance to shareholders' equity or to equity straight away. This is the decision which is given in appendix A of the standard. Is it clear? So these are the issues which you wanted to discuss in this lecture. Thanks a lot.